Good morning and welcome to the Columbus Center for Spiritual Living Sunday Meditation. Meditation will begin in a few moments. My name is Ann Strayer and I'm a licensed religious science practitioner, and I invite you to just settle into your space while we wait to begin our meditation. Good morning and welcome to the Columbus Center for Spiritual Living Sunday Meditation. My name is Ann Strayer, and it is my absolute pleasure to lead you in today's meditation. I invite you to simply take a deep breath in and exhale, centering into the heart space, remembering that you were made with divine intelligence, and within that intelligence comes the knowledge of pure relaxation. I invite you to take a breath in and to step in to that space of relaxation. And as you begin to relax, your eyes may close, and on the inner screen of your eyes, imagine a chalkboard filled with all of your past experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, the challenges, the triumphs. Every one of those experiences is what makes you who you are, perfect, whole, and complete. Take a moment to take in and reflect on all of those memories on the chalkboard. Those experiences are what made you who you are today. And notice underneath the chalkboard, there are some pieces of broken chalk, a couple pieces of new chalk, and there's 2 erasers. I invite you to pick up those erasers and to begin cleaning the slate. Feel the erasers in your hand. You can clean the slate in big, giant circles. Or you can erase, moving your eraser side to side, or up and down. There's no wrong way to erase the blackboard. When your blackboard has been erased, take your erasers outside and notice what direction the wind is coming from. Allow that wind to be at your back. And then clap those erasers together and notice all of the particles being carried off into the wind, taken away and transforming those particles of your past that no longer serve you. And there's always a little bit of chalk dust left in the eraser. You can keep those. Watch them just drift off. Returning back to your blackboard, notice that it's clean as you set the erasers down. And for the next few minutes, simply look at the board and think about what you want to see on that board moving forward. Your dreams, your goals, your aspiration, and your inspiration. Contemplate what you want to see on that clean slate. What are you ready to create on your clean slate? It's okay to pick up the piece of chalk and begin to write your ideas. Take a breath in and As you exhale, notice what your blackboard in your mind's eye looks like now. What experiences have you written? What ideas, goals, aspirations, inspirations? Take note of what's on your mental blackboard and become aware of your surroundings, knowing there's paper and pen nearby to transfer the notes from your creative inner self. So wiggle your toes, your fingers, your shoulders, and gently open your eyes, ready to write down what was on your clean slate. And thank you for joining me in this meditative exercise. Namaste.
Good morning and welcome to the Columbus Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Margie Salmons and I'm a practitioner here as well as a ministerial student, and I'll be giving you the illustrious announcements for today and the rest of the week. Just want to make sure everyone knows that you're all invited to Zoom with us each Sunday for our celebration, or you can join us on our YouTube channel at Columbus CSL. Later, we'll post the video to our Facebook page, so you can watch it there again. Please feel free, too, to share from our YouTube channel to your own Facebook page. And for everyone on Zoom with us today, please feel free to turn your videos on so we can see each other, and keep yourself muted so we can hear what's going on. So thank you. Now, on to the announcements. So everyone is invited to join us for our next Open Hearts Open Mic, and it's this Friday, February 12th from 7 to 9 via Zoom. So watch for your upcoming CCSL Weekly Word newsletter. It'll give you the Zoom link, and you can also find it on our Facebook page. So would you like to share your amazing talents at an upcoming Open Hearts and Open Mic? Well, just contact Jim Hetzer at jahetzer@sbcglobal.net, and you may be featured. So please join us for our new monthly CCSL community meetings. They take place on the second Sunday of each month, and our next meeting will take place on, yes, Valentine's Day, Sunday, February 14th, and it'll be at noon. There'll be a variety of topics covered each month, and everybody has an opportunity to join in and speak or have a Q&A. So we're not going to broadcast on YouTube, so you can just join the meeting on our Zoom link, and it's the same link that we have for our meditation and our Sunday service, just to make sure it's easy for everyone to come in and join. Also, we now have a suggestion box that you can send your ideas, feedback, suggestions, anything you'd like. You can email them to ccslsuggestionbox@gmail.com. And as always, your feedback is appreciated and welcome. So if you were on here between meditation or prior to service, you saw our Faces of God slideshow. So we just invite you, if you don't have a picture on there, to send a picture so that we can share your shining face and your smile with everyone else in the community. So if you'd like to send us a picture, you can email it to robin@spirituallivingcolumbus.org so we can add you to the lineup. So thank you for doing that. Now, if you'd like prayer after service or any time throughout the week, you can find our prayer practitioners on our website, and that's columbuscsl.org, or you can even just submit a prayer request on our website. So those are the announcements for today. Let's hear our opening song.
I'm so excited, so delighted. You're invited to join me in joy. I'm so excited, so delighted. You're invited to join me in joy. It's rising up and I can't do nothing about it. It's rising up and I can't do nothing about it. It's rising up and I can't do nothing about it. It's rising up and I can't do nothing about it. Hey, I'm so excited, so delighted. You're invited to join me in joy. I'm so excited, so delighted. You're invited to join me in joy. It's rising up and I can't do nothing about it. It's rising up and I can't do nothing about it. It's rising up and I can't do nothing about it. It's rising up and I can't do nothing about it. Hey, I'm so excited, so delighted. You're invited to join me in joy. I'm so excited, so delighted. You're invited to join me in joy.
Thank you, Carissa. It's always nice to have you all here in person. So good morning. My name is Reverend Amy Papadopulo, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Columbus Center for Spiritual Living. We are an inclusive organization that honors and respects and welcomes everyone, no matter where they are on their spiritual journey. So thank you for joining us this morning on our Zoom link. Thank you for joining us if you are watching us on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is Columbus CSL. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so now. And remember to give it a thumbs up and ring the bell. So please read our mission statement with me. We serve the transformation of individual lives through education, spiritual practice, and deep community using spirit and science mind principles as our compass. Thank you. So now I'd like to thank practitioner Ann Strayer for that beautiful meditation this morning. And also thank you, Ann, for holding virtual high watch for our service today. So now I'd like to reintroduce practitioner Margie Salmons. Margie.
Thank you, Reverend Amy. And we will now begin our service with the ringing of the bowl. It's my pleasure to introduce our community member, Jim Hetzer, who will be giving us the reading this morning. Jim?
Good morning. A reading from Ralph Waldo Emerson from Poems and Letters. Finish each day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And now let's let the music take us within.
All we need is, all we want is, all we are is love, love.
So as I speak this opening prayer this morning, if you're comfortable, just allow my words to be your words. What I know is that we all want love. We want that love each and every day. And that love is spirit, is God, is a thing with 1,000 names that cannot be named. And that love and that compassion and that joy greets us each and every new day. It is God working to us, through us, and as us. I know that I am connected. I know that each and every person today on this celebration is connected, and that each and every person I know and don't know is connected to that stream of love that always flows. And so today I celebrate the beginning of a new week, the beginning of a new day. I celebrate the music that is played today in our service. I celebrate the words of Reverend Amy as they touch my heart. And I celebrate each and every person that I know and that I don't know on this Super Sunday. I give thanks for everyone and everything, and that the love never stops flowing. And so it's with a grateful heart I say thank you. And I release this prayer knowing that the law always says yes. And so I just invite you to sing with us as we close. And so it is.
All we need is, all we want is, all we are is love. All we need is, all we want is, all we are is love. Love, love,
So beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Tony and Carissa. And what a perfect song for February. So welcome. I'd like to start today's talk with a quote from The Science of Mind. The silence means this: a contemplation in the quiet of the mind, when the objective tumult is temporarily stilled and we rise in our consciousness to the place of pure causation, which is spirit. And then one more quote: enlightenment is a destructive process. It has nothing to do with becoming better or being happier. Enlightenment is the crumbling away of untruth, of everything we imagined to be true. So I wanted to open with those two quotes because they directly relate to this month's theme as well as today's theme. This month's theme for Centers for Spiritual Living, for those centers that are following the themes, is One Journey, Many Paths. And today, for the first Sunday of February, today's theme is a clean slate. Now, I have to tell you, this week, when I was going about my regular everyday business and working and thinking about the talk that was coming up, I hadn't looked at what has been provided to the ministers about the notes for the talk. And I kept telling one of my friends, like, I just feel like I need a reset button. I just feel like I want to just stop everything and hit a hard restart. I feel like I want to have a personal reboot. And then towards the end of the week, I looked at the information for today, and it is a clean slate. I had no idea. But what I do know is that as I practice this philosophy, as I practice these principles, as I do my spiritual practice, read my books, take time for contemplation, and become aware, things like that happen in my life. My life literally has gotten better as I practice these principles. And the more I practice these principles, the more things like that coincidence, well, we'll call it a God wink, happens. And I love them. I think they're amazing. So I had one of those this week I wanted to share. So today's talk, A Clean Slate. I wanted to give you sort of a context for the talk. Remember in January, I talked about that principle is not bound by precedent. So principle being the law of cause and effect, the law of God, is not bound by precedent. Precedent is anything that has come before that gives an example. Principle is not bound by precedent, but rather principle is freed. Principle is freed by itself. It is free to create whatever we put into it with our thoughts. Remember, we talked about last week, the seed, the soil, and the plant. So the seed being the thought, the soil being the law, and the plant being the manifestation of our thoughts. We've also talked about the idea of panentheism, the idea that God is in us and yet beyond us. God is all of me, but I am not all of God. We talked about surrender, surrendering to form an experience, surrendering to surrendering to experience and embody spirit, so that those seed thoughts come from the divine as we co-create. So I also wanted to talk about this idea of destruction. So as we enter the mode of deconstruction, becoming a clean slate, it is where the all, God, Buddha, Allah, whatever you want to call it, is everywhere present. And like our theme this month, on one journey, many paths, one journey within to the divine, to God within us, but many of us will take different paths to get there. So what I'd like to do is, what I'm going to do is, as we talk about a clean slate, this topic for today, the clean slate, the Centers for Spiritual Living, our vision statement says, we envision humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence and discovering the creative power of thought. A world where each and every person discovers his or her own personal power, and the ability to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone. So that is directly related to this idea of a clean slate. I'm going to start with a story. I guess I've already started. I'm going to continue starting with a story. This is a true story of a minister in Florida, Reverend Cindy Grimes. She was finishing up her ministerial education as I was just starting mine. So our paths crossed for about a year. And she was the one that actually wrote these ideas that are shared with the ministers in CSL. And she shared this story with us, which I think is a fantastic story, which fits right perfectly into that clean slate. So this is Reverend Cindy's story. Cindy was considering the possibility of attending a silent retreat. She had lots going on and was feeling unusually overwhelmed. She thought a change of scenery and some inner and outer silence could help her get her priorities and projects in order. Instead of a retreat, she got COVID. Cindy was the only individual in any of her circles to get it. She had no idea how she contracted the virus. She was always mindful and careful when she went out, conscientiously wearing a mask, and using hand sanitizer. And the morning that the symptoms started was an exception. Cindy didn't realize she was having COVID symptoms. She had not heard of lower back pain as a symptom. Cindy had not seen her parents in person for several months, and everyone was excited to gather. Her daughter and 3-year-old grandson accompanied her. They didn't wear masks and they didn't follow the 6-foot rule. And that evening, the pain in her lower back spread to other muscles throughout her body, along with fatigue and fever that laid her out for the next 15 days. Aside from staying quarantined, Cindy never considered what she would do if she got COVID. She assumed she would take time catching up on reading, TV, or podcasts. She didn't have the interest or mental focus or energy to do much but stare at the leaves dancing outside the window of her quarantine room. She did this for hours. She practiced breathing, long, slow, deep breaths, thinking about how she might expel COVID if it entered her lungs. She practiced feeling all of the feelings that emerged from the quiet. Much of it was unpleasant. Shame, anger, and fear sometimes presided, along with the accusatory and anxiety-riddled question, how could she be so careless? Did she expose her loved ones to COVID? How did she get it? What belief did she hold that manifested this illness? Could she have unknown risk factors that might make COVID more deadly? Would she end up hospitalized or worse? And what if COVID took her life? She had so much unfinished business. And of course, the physical pain and discomfort were constant companions to the mental and emotional distress. Her inclination was to push the discomfort away using medication, sleep, or other distractions. Then there was a moment when she decided instead to confront what was happening in her body. Cindy meditated on the fever. It was the highest it had been since she got sick. She felt the heat radiating, sweat beating up on her face, in her body, and rolling down her neck and chest. Before long, her pajamas were soaked through with sweat. Then, in an instant, the heat stopped radiating. She stopped sweating, and the aches left her joints and muscles. Cindy's COVID retreat lasted about 2 weeks. Her gratitude for the love and support and prayers of her family and friends and her spiritual community continues. Thankfully, none of her loved ones contracted the virus. Physically, it was as though COVID hit the reset button in Cindy's body. Arthritis pain and a skin condition she'd had for years disappeared. As the fear and anxiety evaporated, so did the feelings of stress and being overwhelmed. Her priorities became crystal clear and her next steps emerged. Though it was an unwanted and unwelcome experience, COVID afforded Cindy a clean slate with respect to her calendar, her body, and her mind. Now, I'm not suggesting we get COVID or that we have to get COVID to be kind of like Cindy and have that like reset button happen. But we can have a reset button and we can feel the feelings. I think that's one of the most powerful parts of Reverend Cindy's story, is that as she surrendered, and I believe she said confronted what was going on in her body and fully experienced it, the pain, the fever, instead of pushing it away with medication, she confronted what she said. She confronted what happened in her body. She experienced it. And I think that's what it takes sometimes to get us to where we want to go. We've got to be able to step into those places where it's hard, where there's fear, where there's anxiety. So let's relate this to the idea of a clean slate. So let me ask you this question, or these series of questions. Have you ever prayed for a do-over? You ever prayed for a second chance? You ever prayed for a clean slate? And then when it did happen, find yourself confronted with a combination of excitement and exhilaration, but yet fear and terror at the same time. There's an allure to this clean slate. The blank page, the empty canvas, the open road. It's the hope and the fear that's inherent in life's transitions. These transitions that produce the clean slate: parenthood, divorce, career change, moving, loss, and success. They're all transitions, and they all open us up to this blank slate, this empty canvas. And there is both hope and fear in them. Sometimes we intentionally seek that blank slate, and other times the blank slate is thrust upon us, welcomed and unwanted. But always that blank slate offers opportunity as we tap into the source of creation and infinite possibility and potentiality that's within us. So I've been thinking about this blank slate as I've been thinking about and wanting it this week for myself, thinking about how does this happen? If we don't necessarily have a blank slate that's thrust upon us right now, but we're choosing to have a blank slate, how do we create this blank slate so that we get a do-over, or we get a redo, or we get a hard reset, so that source of creation and infinite potentiality can move through us once again? So when I think about how to do this, I think about that idea of practical spirituality. And I know for me, when I listen to talks, and when I've listened to talks, at least the way it works for me is I want something that I can use in my daily life after I listen to a talk. So that's kind of what I try to put into my talks as a practical spirituality. It's a kind of a way for me to scratch my own itch. So thinking about practical spirituality, this is what I think that this is how we can clean our slate. And I'm just going to say 3, but I'm sure there are many, many other ways to create a clean slate for ourselves. And the ones I want to share with you today just are in alignment with the science of mind principles. And there's 3. The first one is called practicing the presence. Practicing the presence is the practice of the principle of oneness, the principle of love, the principle of creation. So as we practice the presence you could call God, Buddha, Allah, we become aware of, and we actually begin to experience and embody the principle of allness, the principle of oneness, the principle of creation that's happening through us. We engage in formal and disciplined methodologies that quiet the mind, that quiet the body, and that opens us up for the awareness. It's in living in alignment with the science of mind principles. It's in meditation, it's in prayer, it's in journaling. It's in whatever way it takes for you to quiet the mind, quiet the body, to be in that receptive dance, that receptive posture, to co-create with the divine. We engage in the present moment. And in the present moment is the only place where we can really truly be congruent with our thoughts, with our words and our behavior, because the past is done, right? And the future is not here. So when we're in the present moment, we can be congruent with the I am that's wanting to come through us, that does come through us. This also leads into number 2. So that's practicing the presence. Number 2 is self-awareness. This principle, it illuminates our alignment with each one of our principles. It's the practice of being conscious. Self-awareness is the practice of being conscious with our motivation, with our intention. As we become aware and more aware, the more we wake up, we can ask ourselves, what's my intention? What's my intention? And then we get to open up to any of those internal dialogues that we're having. And it can also open us up to any internal hidden beliefs that we may have. When we practice self-awareness, it's a choice. We're choosing to be willing to observe and take responsibility for our internal choices. Because when we take responsibility for our internal choices, our internal thought patterns, our internal dialogues, then we can take responsibility for our external manifestations. It all starts with thought. And how we know what we're thinking is we become self-aware. We become aware of our beliefs. And a belief is simply a thought that happens over and over and over. And it creates a rut, a neural pathway, a new neural pathway. So to become aware of our thoughts, we have to practice the present. We have to be in the present. And we have to become aware of what we're thinking. And this last part to creating a clean slate is silence. To create an inner spaciousness, to become aware of one's own consciousness, to experience the rise and the fall of thoughts, the rise and the fall of feelings, without attachment, without judgment. Silence invites us to become comfortable with our own mind, with our own body, and also to release distractions so that that self-awareness has a place to grow. That silence, we learn to let go of the attachment to the thoughts, right? In Buddhism, the greatest, the cause of suffering is attachment. So we can practice non-attachment as we get silent, knowing that our brain creates thoughts, because that's what it does. Just as much as our hands move, our brain creates thoughts. So we become silent, to become aware of what those are in order to let them go, to open up, to create that clean slate. We talk oftentimes in Science of Mind that there is a power in the universe for good, and we can use it. We talked about that being in Kingdom 2 last week. There's also a power for good in the universe, and it can use me to open it up, to be that clean slate. And I also think it's important to go back to what we talked about in January. That principle is not bound by precedent. So as we clean our slate, as we open up to God and the infinite and the divine. Just because something has happened the same way over and over, it doesn't have to happen that way again. We don't have to continue to cut off the ends of the ham because grandma's pan was too small. We don't have to do things because it's always been done this way. when we create that clean space and we open up to the infinite potentiality of something new that wants to be born through you and through me. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the evolution, that spiritual evolution. The spiritual evolution, we know so much more now. That as we open and we allow the divine to come through, it's going to be something new. Remember when Dr. Ken Gordon was here and he was giving a talk, he was talking to us, and he said, those of us that are in New Thought, which is unity and science of mind, were like the way showers. And he told this story. You know, what's funny is this was not even part of my talk, but what I've learned to do in my life is to trust. As I create that open space, like that's happening for me right now. I create that open space and God comes through me, and I learn to trust that space. So what's coming through me right now is when Dr. Ken Gordon was here, Dr. Reverend Ken Gordon, he talked about how those of us in New Thought are the way showers. Hannibal wanted to invade the Roman, I don't know if it was the Empire or the Republic, wanted to invade Rome. So this is 2,000, 2,500 years ago, wanted to invade Rome. And Hannibal's idea was to bring elephants over the Alps. Nobody had ever tried to do that. So what Hannibal did is he sent out a scout, and the scout would go out in front of Hannibal. They would make their fires. And I'm sure Hannibal's not the only one that's done this, but I remember this story. The way showers would light the fire, and that's where Hannibal knew to go, was to follow the fire. And I'll never forget Dr. Ken saying, this is who we are. We're that way shower. We're the ones out in front of that spiritual evolution. We're on the cutting edge. Those of us in a New Thought, we're creating and we're open to something new and something different. Think about how much of the world is in more of a traditional religion than we are. We're a small percentage. We're those way showers. We're the ones that are going out saying, come this way. Now, I can tell you, being a history teacher, Hannibal didn't make it. I don't know what that says about the rest of the story. I don't think it has to say anything about the rest of the story. But the history teacher in me wants you to know that many of the elephants did not make it across the Alps. And it was soon figured out that elephants are not good war animals. Okay. So that idea of living from a place of clarity, that idea of living from a place of a clean slate of possibility that encompasses the mind, the heart, and the soul, and the body, is regularly practicing the presence, regularly being aware, regularly entering into the silence. We could do this. We can create this co-creation with God, this great love affair with the divine, because it is love. We can create this and we can court this and we can have this beautiful relationship with the all that is and ourselves at the same time. Love is one of the very first principles, if not the first principle of God. There are many ways to practice this present and to court this presence and to have this Mobius, this coming and going. Spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, which is what we do and teach here. Meditation, mindfulness, silence. And to give yourself permission to indulge whatever you feel that your soul is nudging you to do. Sacred service, be it nature, time with friends on Zoom, or your pod. Creative endeavors, laughter, music, whatever it is. because we're all on our own unique individual journeys. So the talk for today is that clean space, that clean slate. And and our theme for this month is one journey, many paths. Whatever the path is for you to get to the place that we're looking for is that place where we are in direct communion with the divine within ourselves. It's not out there, up there. It's here. This is where we find it, right? Reminds me of that idea of that when God or the gods created the soul, they decided to hide it within us because they said humans would never look in there to find it. So I encourage you all to look in there. And I also want to leave you another piece of this that was also extremely important for me. It's about forgiveness. And of course, forgiving ourselves first. And in the light of practical spirituality, I want to briefly talk about Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian forgiveness ritual that creates this opportunity for purification and renewal and forgiveness. There's some amazing work out there if you want to look it up on the internet, Ho'oponopono, about a prison in Hawaii and the impact that this prayer had on the inmates. And the prayer simply goes like this. It's only 4 statements. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. We can run this in our minds. Sometimes I run this in my mind. I haven't in a couple of months, maybe a year, but I tell you, when I was running this in my mind, this is what I was consciously attaching to instead of the chatter. It's profound. So I would also encourage you at the end of the day, scan your mind for thoughts, interactions, or events that might have disrupted your awareness, your peace, your clean slate, something that could have been handled more skillfully or you could have done better. And you can use Ho'oponopono to cleanse it. Cleans your heart, cleans your mind. Just as you brush your teeth before bed, you can clean your day with Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. So let's take this into prayer. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Recognizing that power, this power of the presence, of the oneness, of the all of life. Recognizing that no matter where I look, no matter what I hear, no matter what it is, that one great presence, this one beautiful, magical, mystical, all-encompassing source, energy, one mind, one power, one presence. And today I call that God. And what I know about this one is that it is love. At its essence, that love is God and God is love. And that there is great power within love. And so I speak my word right here and right now on behalf of everyone hearing my voice, that this great power of love creates a safe space within our own hearts for ourselves. This great power of love also creates a great space in our hearts for our loved ones and for anyone we encounter. And this great place of love allows us to become present to the presence. It allows us to become aware of our thoughts, of our belief, and of our actions. And it allows us to step into that silence. Whether we do this fiercely, gently, firmly, I know that these principles for each and every person hearing my voice, these principles of oneness and of love are the truth and the beingness of all of us here today. I claim an expansion in consciousness just for being on the planet. I claim an expansiveness of consciousness of each person in this Zoom meeting and on YouTube. For I know that God is at work expanding, being that way shower as we surrender and say yes and have a clean, clear canvas for God to just put a big old heart on a white canvas. I claim this truth for each and every one of us, and I let it go knowing that this or something better, I open to that idea of something better with that clean slate. I let it go, I let it be, and please say with me out loud wherever you are, and so it is. So now it is the time for the giving of our gifts. Thank you for all of the ways that you continue to give to the center, whether it be on PayPal on our website, or text to give, or automatic deduction, or sending in your check. There are lots of ways that you continue to give, and we appreciate it, because especially during these times when we're virtual, we really rely on the donations, the gifts, and the tithes of those of us that are in our community, and also those of us that are watching, because your giving to the center helps the center fulfill our mission, as well as CSL's mission of creating a world that works for everyone. And we are circulating Spirit's energy in the form of money by giving and receiving. So thank you for what you give. We all greatly appreciate it. And during this, I'm going to go, maybe probably after this, to PayPal, and that's how I give on Sunday mornings on our website. So please say our affirmation with me. My gift goes forth to heal and bless and prosper. It does its good and perfect work and returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is.
Oh, yeah. When I open up a channel to receive, when I open up my heart and just believe, when I know I am infinity, when I open up my eyes so I can see, I can feel it, I can feel it, circulation, circulation. When I open up a channel to receive, when I open up my heart and just believe, when I know I am infinity, when I open up my eyes so I can see, I can feel it, can you feel it, circulation, 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 circulation.
Circulation through and around and as God. The gift of circulation. I recognize God in these gifts. I recognize the source that sources the universe in the givers. And for that, we are so grateful, because I know that these gifts multiply abundantly and the giver's joy multiplies abundantly. And so we say thank you for all of that, and thank you for this community that loves and gives and has the heart. So I say thank you with a grateful heart, and I invite you to close by singing together.
And so it is, and so we let it be. And so it is, and so we let it be.
Thank you. So now let's take a moment and thank our practitioners and Strayer for the meditation this morning and for holding virtual High Watch. Thank you to Margie Salmons that's assisting me today. Thank you for Jim Hetzer for the reading. Thank you to our song leader, Carisa Holmes. I'm so glad you guys are here in person, along with our center trio. Thank you, Tony Bernardi on piano, Joe Nelson on drums, and Steve Parakis on bass. Carissa, Tony, and Joe and Steve have all collaborated their musical talent and skill to provide the music for us today. Thank you, Jim Hetzer, for the reading as well. Thank you, Jay Westfall, for being the Zoom moderator, and Robin Brookhouse for doing the slides for us today. And thank all of you who are here for our Sunday celebration. If you're joining us for the first time, we welcome you. We'd love to send you a welcome packet in the mail with more information about us. You can contact us in the office. You can find that information on our website, or you can also send us a private Facebook message. So please say our blessing with me. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now, and so it is.
Come on, let me see you move. Go in peace, live in love. May the Spirit bless you with all your heart dreams of. Go in peace, live in love. May the Spirit bless you, my friend. Go in peace, live in love. May the Spirit bless you with all your heart dreams of. Go in peace, live in love. May the Spirit bless you, my friend. All through your life, every day, walk on the path that leads to what is true. Whoa, whoa, true. All through your life, every day, make a way for your heart to open the door for you. Go in peace, live in love. May the Spirit bless you with all your heart dreams of. Go in peace, live in love. May the Spirit bless you, my friend. Go in peace, go in peace, live in love. Go in peace, live in love. May the Spirit bless you, Spirit bless you, Spirit just bless you, my friend. Peace and blessings. Have a beautiful week.